exactly little.
The internet is dying. Or at least, my internet is dying. And I'm not talking about my modem, I'm talking about, culturally. It might already be totally dead. My internet was the All and Videogum and early versions of social networks not as yet overrun by bigots and sanctimonious purity test liberals. My internet was dumb, but full of formal experimentation. We discovered we could do things like write about bad movies or bad books, make it fun, form a community. That still happens now, but as a calculated expression of a click-driven economy. Cultural fragmentation seemed more interesting then, and people as non-handsome and non-British as me and my friends could find a pretty decent niche audience. Going viral mostly meant getting featured on Reddit or like one of those thing-of-the-day Tumblrs. It didn't mean you were about to get doxxed, hacked, and fired from your day job. I'm not saying this to say that my internet was better than the internet we have now, although it was. I'm just saying it to point out that it's dying and or dead. Soon, even the echoes of it will be gone. Writers everywhere getting laid off. There's enough content now, so all you need is algorithms to keep churning it forward. And Spotify bought fucking Gimlet Media for $200 million, which means they'll be coming for podcasts sooner or later. I think we're safe here for a little longer, but nowhere else that I know of. And it's okay. Things end, they die, or they get co-opted irreparably, always, sooner or later. And creative people will find a new way to work within the new confines, whatever they are. But whatever happens next will mean more to people younger than me, the work that results. It won't be mine. Not really. I will be less a part of it than I was before. Arlo has a favorite band. He's a year old, and he's got a favorite band, and I had very little to do with it. Here's what went down. Our local record store, the truly indispensable Bull Moose Music, they sell grab bags of mystery CDs. Couple bucks for a stapled paper bag with like 15 loose and gently used compact discs. Sometimes in a bag there'll be a sense of thematic cohesion, a bunch of jam band live records or a bunch of jock jams compilation discs. Sometimes there's no apparent rhyme or reason to what you get. Sometimes, based on just the disc alone, since you have no case, you can't even tell what it is until you put it in and start playing it. I love these grab bags so much, and I frequently use them as gifts or supplements to gifts. So this year for Christmas, as a part of a belt-tightening gesture that was half out of necessity and half on principle, Christy and I decided to only give each other stockings. $30 price limit, I only went over by a little. Christy really nailed it, though. She gave me basically exactly what I would buy for myself if my own desires even really occurred to me. Comic books, combos, pineapple candy, and a Bull Moose grab bag. So we've been listening to the CDs on family drives, and one day we put in an EP from a band called the Finn Brothers.
Please to be kind and not try to explain. I'll probably get it all wrong.
If I had to describe this kind of music, I would describe it as vaguely British Apatow rock. Like, remember that musician who factors heavily into the plot of This Is 40? What's that? You don't? You don't remember This Is 40? Well, there's this kind of blandly pleasant, aging rocker music, which is fine but unmemorable, except somehow conversely memorable just for how unmemorable it is. And it sounds like the Finn Brothers. And every single time I put it on, Arlo starts boogieing like a madman. He feels this old man groove in his rubbery little bones, and he is moved to dance regardless of his mood or health.
Just a flicker of light, and we all have to die alone. What does it mean when you belong
So I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for the Finn brothers now. They're from New Zealand. They are really brothers, Neil and Tim Finn. One of them used to be in the band Crowded House. They've had 2 records, 9 years apart, and I don't know, certain sentences on this Wikipedia page make me feel like my brain's just making them up as I go along, like I'm having a dream about reading Wikipedia. There's a section about a video that features 2 people in a donkey suit, but its wearers cannot be seen. In the 2005 tour, Neil and Tim wore a donkey suit on stage for many performances also. And there's a citation. As far as I can tell, they're a real band. I found a kind of weird, obsessive discography cataloging website that clearly someone cares about them enough to update. The disc that we have only has a couple tracks on it and appears to be a tour sampler from 04-05, probably distributed to radio stations. I feel like I'm going to have to go out and buy a full record now, maybe both. I mean, you should see this kid when the song comes on. When Arlo was born, I knew this day would come. I knew that his musical taste would diverge from mine in an unexpected way, but I didn't know it would be so soon, and I didn't know it would be like this. But here we are. Welcome to the last podcast, season 5. Such a hard time tweeting now. I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah, I feel like for as much as I do tweet, which I think is higher than average, I feel like I'm not really saying much of anything. And then I delete most of what I write anyway, so.
I think that's fine. Like, whenever I look at some famous person's Twitter account and I see that all their tweets are deleted, that they delete their tweets every couple hours, I'm like, respect. You know, I like that move.
I think it's acknowledging the shelf life of tweets, and I think it's just sort of admitting this is too maybe topical for its own good. Let's just not worry about this.
I wonder if you can get it fast enough the Library of Congress won't archive it, you know? How often do they do their sweeps?
I'm sure on their end they regret making that decision in the first place. So I'm sure they appreciate the cleanup as well.
Here's something I was mulling over during the holidays. Pun definitely intended. What makes a song sound Christmassy?
City sidewalks, busy sidewalks.
See, this December, I did a thing on Twitter where I rewrote a Christmas song every day for 10 days. In part because, as part of a widespread creative crisis I was experiencing, I wanted to experiment with threads of quickly produced phone videos as a means of attracting attention.
In the air, there's a feeling.
People are so forgiving of Twitter threads these days, you know? They no longer seem as desperate as they really are. So it felt like the perfect time. So I was learning a new holiday standard every day, and I thought, as I learned each song's chord progression, maybe I'd notice some kind of pattern, like some section of the pentatonic scale that unlocks that Yuletide sound. And then, hey, once I had the codex, maybe I could write my own Christmas song, get some of that Mariah Carey money. But it turns out, they're just like every other song. G, C, D, little A minor, the occasional E minor or F major, nothing special. So what was it that made them sound like the holidays then? Is it just sleigh bells in the background or like muted trumpet at the beginning? Is it just context?
Have yourself.
The big anecdotal evidence in favor of context is the way some non-Christmas songs can come to sound Christmassy if you hear them in the right way. Like, the first time I heard Joel Almay's song, No Class, it was the opening credits of my favorite Christmas movie, Joe Swanberg's Happy Christmas.
So you got to know her. You're just paid to.
This song is on every holiday playlist I have ever made on Spotify.
Yes, when you are home. When you're dried up and feeling.
Another song that's always sounded Christmassy to me is A Pair of Brown Eyes by the Pogues, but it might just be that it sounds enough like their actual Christmas song, Fairy Tale of New York. Let's be real and admit to ourselves that basically every single Pogues song sounds exactly the same, and that's okay. I mean, every Flogging Molly song also sounds like the Pogues. It's an enviable sound. Why change it?
And on the jukebox
There's also Titus Andronicus's Upon Viewing Oregon's Landscape with the Flood of Detritus, which came out in the fall and therefore was reaching a saturation point in my brain around Christmas time. Plus, it has sleigh bells. Maybe that's a bad example for the context thesis. But now that I think about it, maybe the sleigh bells were added to the song when they realized what a Christmassy vibe it had. And, Joel Almay's music might have sounded Christmassy to Joe Swanberg, and maybe that's why he picked it. And maybe the movie itself is not a major player in the transfer of Christmas vibes from song to my ears. Maybe the Pogues realized that all of their songs, which all sound the same, sounded kind of Christmassy, which is why they added Fairy Tale of New York to the pile. Maybe mood drives context, and not the other way around. I know some people hate them, but I love these kind of questions about what force drives what effect and in what direction, even though those kind of questions never really have answers. The most they really have is personal answers, and, most of the time your own personal answer changes every time you think about it. And as I was thinking about this stuff and changing my mind about it, I was putting together a holiday video for the first time in a couple of years. Okay, so starting my freshman year of college, I made these holiday videos that usually spanned from Thanksgiving to New Year's Eve. I was doing this long before I started making more personal vlogs on YouTube, and so they were this early, gratifying form of starting with this lump of clay, haphazardly shot video at Christmas parties, and using the power of music and editing to create a particular mood, a mood that was often better and more cohesive and less chaotic than the real experience. I got better at it every year, and I was very proud of it. Like, having a family member who's a really good photographer is nice for collective institutional memory, and it's something that most families have. But a good video editor, that's a real luxury, right? And by the way, editing is a skill that I have that I don't feel shy about stating as a fact. I'm a good editor. I know that I am. I'm not sure about many of my other talents, but I know I can edit. In college, I once guest edited a sketch for this campus TV station, and I was on totally unfamiliar software and only had like an hour and a half or something, and when I showed it to the guy who shot it, he said, "Holy shit." In a good way. It was a good holy shit. So when I edited these holiday videos, I recognized early on that I was performing a kind of magic trick. I was altering and improving my own memories, and at the same time, I was also recontextualizing songs for myself and for others, like permanently wiring them to a time and a place, and, again, a mostly artificial feeling.
Ooh, that crash made fire hotter than the sun. It rained down on everything and everyone.
I loved making those videos, and the fact that my relatives didn't always love them hurt like a motherfucker. Some of them complained about me sticking a camera in their face, others, somewhat conversely, complained about not being included enough in the final edit, and I still remember every single negative comment I got both online and in life, and I still remember discovering that several relatives had untagged themselves from the videos on Facebook. There were positive comments too, ones that I felt a very deep and intense gratitude for, and I still remember those too. But after 7 years of holiday videos, in 2013, I gave up. I read another negative comment from a family member on Facebook, and I decided I was done. And I did not bring my camera to Christmas for a couple years.
Have yourself.
And you know what? It kind of felt good. I know that I talk a lot about guarding the creative light within yourself and others. It is of critical importance. But sometimes, when you have other lights burning in other places, it is kind of satisfying to just let one die. And in fact, to even allow yourself to blame someone else. Like, yes, you did, in fact, kill this part of me. Like the Trump supporter who started haunting my comment sections in early 2016, enraged and weirdly betrayed by a brief resurrection of Rockin' Sockin' Robot. Like, I don't know how you can claim to be a longtime fan of me without understanding my politics. No Church in the Wild, I guess, but whatever. Those negative comments and persistent dislikes from one person did take a toll. My deeply diminished desire to post anything on YouTube is because of you. There are other factors, but that was one. But a cool thing about Creative Light is that it's an unpredictable and fickle force, and a part of you that you thought was dead comes roaring back. You'll drop the idea of ever writing a screenplay, and then you'll pick it up again 5 years later. If you keep something burning, an ember or two within yourself, you never know where the fire will end up. As for the holiday videos, I'm doing them again because I have a new reason now. I want to show Arlo what his early years were like, and seeing him at Christmas time this year with my own eyes and through my camera lens, it was an experience of intense joy. Now, in those early years of doing that Christmas video, I usually had a song in mind, something that I'd been enjoying recently that felt reasonably lo-fi. I generally maintain that if you're not shooting professionally polished, well-lit, color-corrected video, your musical accompaniment should match the level of your production, which is to say, pretty fucking DIY. Same is true of a podcast. Now, this year, I really had no idea what song I wanted to use because I've mostly been listening to streaming services, so I don't even have a digital copy of most of what I've been enjoying. So I just opened up my iTunes library, started clicking around, and
10 decisions shape your life. You'll be aware of 5 about 7 ways to go through school. Either you noticed or left out. 7 ways to get ahead. 7 reasons to drop out.
This is I'll Try Anything Once by Julian Casablancas. And Christy heard it and she said, that would work. So I started trying it, and as I began editing the footage to the song, I observed to her that I never realized before now how Christmassy that song sounded. But did it sound Christmassy before that exact moment? I feel like, okay, so I was just realizing yesterday that I'm coming up on, my present internet personality is about 10 years old.
Oh, okay.
So, we just hit 10 years for the McCain Truth Project, and then 10 years of Rockin' Sockin' Robot and Angry Films On is next year.
Oh, wow.
And so, if all this stuff is 10 years old, or this version of me being on the internet is 10 years old, I feel like I have to sort of reconsider my whole approach now.
just scrub all the hard drives and just start new.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It just feels like, there was a time when I could look back at the things that I did and be surprised, secretly impressed by them,
Uh-huh.
And then now I'm not anymore. So I'm like, oh, okay. So somewhere I actually really did jump tracks, and I don't know where, but so I gotta figure out where I diverged.
You think you jumped tracks in terms of what you wanted to say, what you wanted to cover?
Yeah, what I wanted to do, what I wanted people to think about me based on the things that I was doing.
Okay. All right. Yeah, fair. Because the McCain Truth Project, that was the first project you mentioned. So that would have predated what I know you for, which is the Twilight coverage.
Yeah. The Twilight blog, Angry Films On, and Rockin' Sockin' Robot all kind of have it at the same time.
And yeah, now that all of that stuff has genuinely been replaced in my mind by the more, what I would describe like the more kind of mature, sort of grounded artistic videos that you make, which are the, you know, the footage collages that you make. That to me is the kind of predominant aesthetic in my mind now, as opposed to like the sketch material and that kind of stuff.
Right, and I definitely think I was better at that than the first thing, but I also kind of feel like maybe I've said all I need to say with the footage montages, you know? I don't know.
Okay.
It's like it's real clean slate. It's interesting.
I think it's tough when anyone gets into the realm of, oh, we're going to be generating sketch material for video. I think that's tough to look at no matter who you are 5 years later, 10 years later, because you notice jokes that, you know, don't hold up in like with the new conversations that we have, or it just, the whole thing just winds up coming off a little congealed. And I understand the instinct to just be like, can we let's just drag this into the trash and pretend it never existed.
Although, you know, I think that like when you look back at the stuff that you did and you like shudder at how problematic it is, that actually honestly feels like a temporary phenomenon. Like, I think we're at a moment right now where culturally we don't permit a lot of like nuance or conversation about intent or anything like that. And that's okay. Yeah. That's just where we're at right now. But I think we're going to get back to that again. So
yeah, we're being very harsh with our past. So other people are being very harsh when it comes to their icons' past selves or people they don't consider to be icons in the first place. We're very interested right now in sort of diving into that back catalog, that archive of material, and sort of saying, well, what does this mean now? What should you be sort of held accountable for? And, you know, what should be done about that? Should it be deleted? Should it be removed? Or should it sort of be sort of held up and examined? And yeah, it's a very complicated, fascinating conversation that we're having.
All right. You know what virtue signaling is, right? Or rather, you know what people think virtue signaling is? It's an alt-right thing. And, you know, if I were to go and say, I think that brown people should be allowed to be alive, some guy on the internet with a festive hat might accuse me of virtue signaling. Because this sort of thinking goes, you know, no white guy actually feels anything for anyone except for himself. They just pretend to in order to get retweets or likes or pussy. It's the same genus, if not the same species, as that Twitter thread I complained about a while ago, where people claim that nobody likes Radiohead. They just pretend to like them to seem cool. That's the fun of accusations in this family of statements, you know, as they reveal more about the person who would say it than the people that they're accusing. There's no such thing as that kind of virtue signaling. There's just being a person and not a fucking sociopath. But as it turns out, there is a real kind of virtue signaling. It's just not where these people think they see it. So to talk about this, we got to talk about the show Chef's Table. If you've never seen Chef's Table, you should definitely watch it. It's great. It's a docu-series that profiles various chefs around the world. Some of them are Michelin star awarded, James Beard nominated weirdos. Some of them are fucking monks. Some of them are very interesting and compelling and soulful, and some of them are just assholes. Some of them are assholes who are redeemed in your eyes. Some of them are assholes. It's beautifully shot, it's really well told, and it's often very process-oriented, which I, of course, love. Great episode to start with is the one about Nikki Nakayama. And the one that you should absolutely avoid at all costs is about a guy named Tim Raue, R-A-U-E. Skip it. But the episode that I want to discuss today and take issue with is about Christina Martinez, who is a barbacoa taco chef in South Philly, who also happens to be undocumented. So, let's get this straight. I don't have anything against Chef Martinez or her status or her tacos. I am very much on their side. But the episode is very bad. And it's bad because it raises issues like Chef Martinez's undocumented status and her advocacy for the plight of undocumented workers without itself taking a stance on them or even really allowing them much space to be articulated. I'll give you an example. We're told that Chef Martinez is undocumented and therefore at risk of being deported, but we are not told at any point in the voice of anybody, even Chef Martinez herself, about why her deportation would be a bad thing and a loss for the community. Instead, her being undocumented is depicted the same way they would show like some Swedish prick chef who rides a motorcycle without a helmet. Like, oh wow, she's really putting herself out there. And we're given a pretty visceral account of Chef Martinez's border crossing, but nobody stops to say how awful and inhumane it is that these people are forced to take such desperate actions for their families. We don't get any numbers. We don't get, like, the casualty rate. We don't get anything like that. Chef Martinez was in an abusive marriage, and she left to support her daughter's education, but the lines connecting the abusive marriage to the daughter's education to the border crossing are seemingly intentionally obscured. Like, the last thing we'd want is a clear motivation for why she crossed the border. We're not telling a story here. Instead of clearly showing how desperate circumstances lead these people to us in their hour of need and how it is our moral imperative to help them, we get a lot of jazzy shots of the desert with tense music. So Chef Martinez, after crossing the border, falls in love with an American chef, and that sequence is one of the brightest and most charming sections. And her husband, he speaks eloquently, and too briefly, about the willingness of chefs to exploit undocumented workers for labor and then turn a blind eye when they need legal help. Not that they name names or anything, though it would have been nice. It's indicated that he and Chef Martinez take steps at their restaurant to alleviate this sort of thing, but what are those steps? I don't know. He doesn't get a chance to say. As the episode is wrapping up, Chef Martinez talks about realizing she can be a voice for her community, and we see pictures of her at microphones, shaking hands with politicians. But hey, a voice for what? What does she say? What issues does she care about? What solutions does she recommend? I would love to know. It doesn't help that this happens to be the first Chef's Table episode I saw where they swapped out the subtitles for overdubbing the chefs who don't speak English. I get it. You know, you want people to focus on the beautiful imagery. You don't want them to be reading. But still, to have Chef Martinez both literally and figuratively denied a voice in this episode, optically, not great, Bob. All of this might be forgivable or at least understandable since Chef's Table is a show about food, but they also barely talk about food. Like, we see the process of a lamb being prepared in the barbacoa style by Chef Martinez's relatives in Mexico. And there's also like a sentence or two about the difference between corn in the United States and in Mexico, but that's about it. So if there's no food and there's no articulating of political positions in this episode, what is there? Well, there is a lot of extremely repetitive slow-mo shots of basically nothing, like Cristina Martinez or her daughter like standing in a street while like leaves blow. And then there's just a lot of political shrapnel floating around unattached to a point. If you started watching this episode as like an immigration hardliner who wants a wall built, there's really nothing that is shown to convince you that you're wrong, and in fact, it gives you an emotional foothold to believe that Cristina Martinez should be deported. Now, if you believe, as I do, that America is a nation of immigrants and a path to citizenship should be easily and freely provided to people like Chef Martinez, and if you watch this episode while falling asleep, you might be tricked into thinking it agrees with you. But it agrees with no one, and it says nothing. It sidles up to these issues to cop the vibe of wokeness, but it doesn't follow through. So this is where we get back to virtue signaling, which is all too possible in art. We intend, or at least it seems like we intend, to make a piece of political art, but then we pull our punches. Sometimes it's for reasons of commercial cowardice, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes I think the creators are worried about being too blunt, like they're gonna bore viewers who are already in the know. But they won't. That's what made the movie Sorry to Bother You so refreshing. It was unafraid to go over the top in the service of its political stance, and if you already agreed with what it had to say, part of the excitement of watching it was understanding how easily it might reach out and change minds. It was a big hammer in a world of too many tiny screwdrivers, and episodes like this Christina Martinez episode of The Chef's Table is just it's like a wooden handle with nothing on top. Generally speaking, it is a good show, though, and you should definitely watch it. If only because I'm pretty sure I reference it a few more times this season of the podcast. It's March 1st, and today I got the dreaded notification that I knew was coming, that my Twitter account is 10 years old. I've been on Twitter for 10 fucking years. What a horrible thing to contemplate, What a insane and ghoulish symbol of the wasted passage of time. I deleted it from my phone immediately. It's tough, though, because, it can be a great way to communicate with people for and about the podcast, so in some ways I'm still gonna need it. But, not like this, not on demand, not in my pocket. Not anymore. I'm saying this into a microphone to make myself stick to it. And, I don't think it'll be that hard. Not for nothing, but something's been getting to me lately, even more than the endless horrors of the current presidential administration and the backbiting and infighting of progressives. And that was, bear with me here, it was all of the jokes and the negativity about podcasts. Having a podcast is becoming internet shorthand for being a narcissist or an asshole. Maybe unsurprisingly, this is how people used to talk about vloggers before. I'm always on the cutting edge of something people are about to start hating. And, fair enough, I guess. Even the name of this podcast is kind of a joke about hating podcasts. But do we really want to do that? I guess I have a couple of things to say in support of podcasts. They have revived a dying format, radio. The barrier to entry, technologically and financially, is pretty low. If you have a cassette recorder, you can start a podcast. Mail the cassette tapes to me. I'll digitize them for you. Real offer. And maybe most importantly, they encourage communication and relationships and emotional clarity. Those are all good things. Those are all things that Twitter doesn't do very well. I really gotta keep this app off my phone.
I'll tell you what, the one thing that really got to me, I'm surprised by how much it got to me, was that damn Spider-Man game for PlayStation 4 dropped. And there were 6, if not 4 to 6, identical think pieces. Identical. All of the points were the same. The rhetoric was the same. I was astonished. I mean, talk about algorithmic writing. It seemed to be made by a fucking computer in a mountain military base. But the whole point of each of these pieces was Spider-Man's a fucking fascist. Spider-Man in this video game is nothing more than a flunky tool for the police state. And apparently, this Spider-Man video game was supposed to take into account Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, the ongoing conversation we're having in regards to our relationship with the police. And in the view of all of these writers, most of which were white, Spider-Man was just a flunky for a police state that keeps us down. And I just thought, that's insane.
I feel like you're happening upon something right now. I think you're writing the algorithm, right? So we can just create, we can almost just create a Mad Libs that's blank piece of content does not address blank hot button issue, blank hot button issue, blank hot button issue, and therefore it's bad. And you can do that for anything.
Or it's not bad, it's just disappointing.
Yeah.
Because there's always that element too of like, the game's fun, but I just wish it had done A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. And it's like, guys, come on already.
Yeah,
I don't mean to be the guy that's like, come on, guys, it's just a video game. But to a certain extent, I'm like, guys, it's just a fucking video game.
Okay, I think by now we've established that the internet is dying. And the death of the internet actually doesn't have much to do with the death of my overall internet persona, but they are happening parallel to each other. Angry Films On, my first internet success, is 10 years old this year. So is the Twilight blog, and my Twitter account, and my old animated show, Rockin' Sockin' Robot. In 2009, I was 22 years old, still in college, and a lot of people started watching the things that I made. When I got hired at this lefty fundraising company, they knew the McCain Truth Project. One of my bosses had worked for the ACLU during the 2008 election, and someone had shown him in their office in North Carolina. It means more to me now than it did back then. I barely noticed. I wasn't grateful for the attention. I was 22. I probably thought I deserved it. I eventually learned to be grateful and to try and give back however I could to the community who watched my videos, commented, shared them. It was a pretty cool thing. And even as my audience dwindled after those first couple years, when I actually made money from YouTube, which is crazy, even as all of that was in decline, I was gratified to have among my remaining viewers a lot of really interesting and creative people in their own right, some of whom have been on this podcast, and some of whom are way too busy and successful for me now. Again, pretty cool. And I guess I'm saying all of this because it kind of feels like it's finally over. I don't know, never say never, but I haven't put up a video in months, and over the course of the last year or so, my monthly vlogs, which were probably the apotheosis of my YouTube creative career, started to feel very inessential to me. There was the Trump supporter stuff that I mentioned before, sure, but also my son Arlo was growing so fast, and it was the only thing I was interested in, and I wanted to try and capture how it felt to be his father and to watch this happen, and I couldn't do it. It defied capture in vlog form. Every video left me feeling underwhelmed. And again, this is a good thing. I was experiencing joy in my life so profound that I could not supplement my own joy, as I'd been doing for a long time, by creating art about it. But still, it felt like the thing that I'd always feared and talked about fearing on this show was really happening. I was gonna lose my creative side. If I forget you, Jerusalem, may my hands forget my skill. It was coming to pass. Video was always so important to me. If you'd asked me what I wanted to do when I was 15, I'd have said that I wanted to direct music videos. Okay, top 5 music videos of all time. Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. In the Bright Eyes podcast, not long ago, Morgan and I talked about how, in rare cases, a cover song can help, unlock enjoyment of the original for you. I think that can also be true of music videos. This was my favorite song as a young boy, and I think I was able to access it mainly because of the stop-motion video. I loved stop motion as a little kid, California Raisins, old Godzilla movies, and I think I liked it because I could sort of conceive how it was happening. It felt like it signaled its own artifice in a way that I liked, because I found traditional animation sort of infantilizing and condescending. I was a very Brechtian 5-year-old. Beastie Boys, Sabotage. This one was huge for me because I remember watching it and realizing that it was more about a vibe than a particular plot or story. You know, it sets itself up like it's going to have an arc, and it doesn't. And I like that. In my own video work later, I pretty much always champion vibe over story. This video also pioneered the use of fake body doubles in action scenes, which was similarly influential to me. This is America, Childish Gambino. I'm putting this here in part so that I have a new music video on this list. I don't want to act like the medium totally died, even though it mostly did. But as soon as I saw this video, I said, that's the best music video that I've seen in 15 years. And the truth is, it's probably more like 20 years. Road to Nowhere, Talking Heads. Christy showed me this video a couple of years ago, and though I was pretty sure I'd never seen it, it still felt like it had always been with me somehow, like planted in my brain by David Byrne without my knowledge. It's full of goofy video experiments that frequently get abandoned halfway through, which by the time I saw this was something I'd been doing for 7 or 8 years too. Fun fact, portions of this music video were filmed in the actor Stephen Tobolowsky's pool. The White Stripes, the hardest button to button. The Lego stop motion video for Fell in Love with a Girl gets a lot of attention, but I like this one's improvisatory spirit. Michel Gondry, who did both videos, he does a lot of deconstructed special effects, but the Lego stop motion in Fell in Love with a Girl, it's a style you might know already. This video does something with repeating overlapping images mapped to each musical note, and it's its own new thing. With video, the thing I always loved the most was finding something new. And I think that one reason I focus so much in this podcast on like the accessibility of concepts and how people get jobs or how other people make things is because when I was a kid, I was so hungry for that kind of thing. I was desperate for jumping off points of creativity. And because music videos were often made by directors earlier in their careers, they sort of showed their work, intentionally or unintentionally. I think it speaks to the popularity of shows like Pop-Up Video and Making the Video, even Beavis and Butthead. Music videos are eminently accessible, little short films, and they leave room for us to come in and understand what was being made and be excited by the process. But weirdly, I had a really hard time coming up with the stuff for that list just now. And I think it's because my teenage love of music videos got replaced in the aughts with an even more deconstructed and accessible piece of work, the unconventional performance video. Like Le Blogotech takeaway shows, but also the Black Cab sessions, lots of different video series that have sessions in the name, NPR Tiny Desk concerts. It's a funny thing about creative progression, but like you can spend a really long time obsessing over super well edited and well planned and shot videos, but then suddenly you fall in love with these one take videos that somebody shot on a street corner even more. Here's my 10 favorite performance videos on YouTube. Okay, Andrew Bird and Annie Clark doing Black Rainbow. I believe that I once wrote on Tumblr that, when my children someday ask me what sex is, I will show them videos of Andrew Bird and Annie Clark playing music together. They'll get all they need from it. This video was created by Le Blogotech. It's their Soirée de Poche performance, which I learned from Google Translate means pocket party, which does not take away from the sexual vibe. Beirut, Nantes. This is another Blogotech video. There's actually a few different versions that Blogotech produced. In one, they play this song on the streets of Paris, drumming on garbage cans. But I prefer this stairwell version. Zach Condon sings while walking down the stairs of a parking garage. I think he's holding a conch shell, maybe. His band is waiting at the bottom. And something about the drums struck me as particularly persuasive when I first heard this. King of Wishful Thinking, Lauren Zedler. Okay, if I recall correctly, I saw this video on one of those Thing of the Day Tumblrs that was a big deal in like 2008, 2009. It's a really funny video. It's just Lauren Zettler and her friends possibly creating a superior rendition of the song popularized by the band Go West. And they just use a ukulele, a banjo, and a mandolin. And they're all sitting on a bed. Simple and effective.
I'll get over you. I know I will. I'll pretend my ship's not sinking, and I'll tell myself I'm over you. I'll be the king of wishful thinking.
Anais Mitchell and Jefferson Hamer's Crypt Sessions. There's a couple of different songs in this series. Any one of them will do. Anais Mitchell and Jefferson Hamer recreate their Child Ballads record with, like, startling accuracy while frequently making very intense eye contact. It's really worth watching, and the songs are so
Brought
good.
her home all against his mother's will. His mother wrought her a wicked spell, and a wicked spell she's laid on her. She'd be her child for long, and many's the year, but the child she would never bear.
Connor Oberst, First Aid Kit, and Taylor Goldsmith. I almost said Taylor Godsmack.
All right, hi,
Connor Oberst, First Aid Kit, and Taylor Goldsmith doing Lua.
This is Claire and this is Joey.
This is perhaps the most beautiful version of Lua, which Connor Oberst has turned into a duet with lots of people over the years. Phoebe Bridgers, Gillian Welsh. I saw him do it with the band Larkin Poe, and it was pretty good, but this one has Taylor Goldsmith's guitar. It's got the trademark First Aid Kit Swedish harmony attack. Listen to this.
So simple in the moonlight, now it's so complicated.
I love that. They do it all the time, and I hope they never stop.
So simple in the moonlight.
Marquise Tolliver, Deep in My Heart, the Mahogany Session. So here's a video of a dude just standing with a violin in a park, commanding so much attention with his powerful voice. Part of the fun, I think, of these little guerrilla performance videos is imagining what it would be like to just stumble into it happening in real life. They have, like, a pedestrian beauty.
I gotta keep my mind free just to keep on walking, even if I'm all alone. I won't let nobody ever try to stop me. I gotta keep track of my soul.
Similarly, and we're gonna keep this one at number 6 on the list. This is 6B, so I can squeeze in one more video. The Lone Bellow performing the Paul Simon song "Slip Sliding Away" on a balcony. I was introduced to this song by my dad. He used to sing it when I was a kid, and when I finally heard the Paul Simon version, years and years later, it felt a little too cute, a little too pat. My dad brought more emotion to it, which is funny because I tend to think of Paul Simon as a pretty emotive singer, and I don't really think of my dad as having authentic emotions. But anyway, it took me a while to find another version that equaled or surpassed my dad's version, and this is it. It's number 1 on the Slip Sliding Away power rankings. My dad's version is number 2. Paul Simon's demo version is number 3. The recorded Paul Simon version's like number 10, maybe.
Slip sliding away. Slip sliding away. You know the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away.
Oscar Isaac, Hang Me, Oh Hang Me. Oscar Isaac is very handsome and very talented. I could watch him and Chris Teal and a bunch of other really talented musicians play this song over and over and over. This particular video is a live take in the studio for some kind of Inside Llewyn Davis promotional thing. That movie gave us so much great music, and it's also a great movie. Why don't we talk about that movie more?
I got so goddamn hungry, I could hide behind the strong. Poor boy, I've been all around this world.
So I wanted to pick only one Tiny Desk concert, but Dirty Projectors and The National are tied for my favorite. So that's number 8.
Who will stop wasting the lives of the brave based on a lie?
They are such beautiful, artful, and precise acoustic renditions of these songs. Visually, I think most of the Tiny Desk concerts are kind of bland, but these two are like above average. The Nationals performance has kind of a darker, grittier production, and Dirty Projectors has this kind of stately but weirdly morbid kind of vampiric thing. Like, I saw this John Malkovich movie a couple years ago where like a topless woman crawls across a table and then like dips her breasts in wine glasses of milk during a dinner party. In a way, it has that kind of vibe.
I won't be vacant anymore. I won't be waiting anymore. I won't be vacant anymore. I won't be waiting anymore. I won't be vacant anymore. I won't be waiting anymore. I won't be vacant anymore. I won't be waiting anymore.
The movie's called Hotel. By the way, it's from 2001. Don't watch it. Gang of Youths covering Blood. Okay, as previously discussed, this is an incredibly good live cover of a song that should have been impossible to cover. And it gets bonus points because everyone in this video is just so attractive. The guys in the band are so handsome. There's this cello player who looks like Blake Lively. I mean, I think they're all Australian, so that explains it. Australians have this inferiority complex where they're all hot and they also have to be talented. Guys, you only need one. Number 10, Phoebe Bridgers and Noah and Abby Gunderson doing Killer and the Sound. I love the simplicity and the obstructed views of this video, and I love the song/combination of songs. It's really wonderful just to watch people make something beautiful in real time.
Hope you kiss my rotten head and pull the plug. Know that I've burned every playlist and I've given all my love.
I also just want to say briefly that I made a ton of performance videos with my brother Morgan and hope to keep making them and have always had so much fun. One of my favorites we shot is a song called A Modern Man in General, which we shot on Islington Street in Portsmouth just after the sun set.
I am the very model of a modern man in general, and I've got this cloud that's hanging upon me.
We'd actually shot a bunch of different videos that day, No Church in the Wild, Portsmouth Pizza Program, and we were just trying to get one last thing in. Kind of figured it out as we went in one take because we were losing the light. And I remember the lens of my camera kept reflecting the headlights of cars in a fun way, so I started doing it more on purpose. And I was walking backwards, which made it very shaky, but it was okay. It created like this emphasis on light and color. And I kept having great luck because like I'd zoom in on Morgan right as he would take a step back or to the side, and he'd block the headlights and the street lights for a second. I remember just watching it happen as I was shooting and being so thrilled. And I kept intentionally walking faster than Jory, who was holding the microphone, and he kept looking at me like he wasn't sure if he should get out of the way or not. I really like it. It's a good memory and just a good video. I would like it even if I didn't shoot it. See, I'm remembering this stuff, and I'm having such positive feelings about video and YouTube, but I know that I can't go back and recapture it. That feeling, it never stays in one place. I gotta find it somewhere else. It would be so nice if the feeling did just stay in one place, though, right? I've always wanted to talk about the virtue of consistency in music. It's an undervalued quality. We tend to elevate artists who are always changing, always striving for something new. But what about the ones who don't, really? I'm thinking primarily about the band Beirut and the artist Andrew Bird. I saw Beirut live in 2014 or so, and I realized like halfway through the show that basically all of their songs are exactly the same tempo. They don't have fast songs, they don't have slow songs. All of them are upbeat without exactly being peppy. They're right down the middle. And while album to album, I would say that each record has a slightly different, like, sheen, a different, light, world music influence, you know what you're getting with a Beirut record. Which is perfect sometimes. You know, you can pull up Beirut's Spotify page, set it to shuffle, and just forget it like a Ronco of it. I have this little pet theory that everybody's favorite Beirut record is the first one they heard, and their second favorite is the third one they heard. You ever listen to that Radiolab episode where they talked about the extremely repetitive joke, Kristen Schaal is a horse? That one?
Kristen Schaal is a horse! Kristen Schaal is a horse! Well, look at her dance like a look at her go like a look at her dance like a horse. Oh, Kristen Schaal is a horse! Kristen Schaal is a horse! Well, look at her dance like a look at her go like a look at her dance like a horse. Oh, Kristen Schaal is a horse! Kristen Schaal is a horse! Well, look at her dance like a look at her go like a look at her dance like a horse. Oh, Kristen Schaal is a horse! Kristen Schaal is a horse! Well, look at her dance like a look at her go like a look at her dance like a horse. Oh, Kristen Schaal is a horse!
Your enjoyment of the joke kind of follows this wave pattern. It's funny, funnier, less funny, not funny at all, starting to get funny again, and so on. Same kind of thing happens with Beirut. Your favorite record is a function of when you heard it plus time, and the actual quality of the record is immaterial, because they're all good. Their newest one sounds like it was mixed and mastered in a glass room, but, you know, that aside. Andrew Bird is similar. He goes on weird instrumental digressions every couple years, but otherwise he makes lightly groovy, extremely wordy folk songs with lots of violin and whistling. That's his thing, and he does it better than anybody else ever could.
Turn into a playground, petri dish with single cells would swing the fist at anything that looks like easy prey. Love of hate, axis and axis. Love of hate, axis and axis. Oh. First it wanes and then it waxes. Used to be so willfully obtuse, or is the word abstruse? Semantics like a noose. Get out your dictionaries.
There's something very appealing about that kind of consistency, right? This is hardcore indie dinner party music. And we need that in our lives, but we kind of forget to talk about it. I've been listening to both of these artists for over 10 years, and Andrew Bird in particular is somebody you can tend to take for granted because you just know he'll always be there. He's got a new single out right now called Sisyphus, which, of course, like, how could he have made it this long without a song called Sisyphus? So I've been kind of building this episode as I go along, as I record interviews for the rest of the season. I knew I wanted to start with a music episode because they tend to mark eras in my life. And after a year as a father and after a months-long creative crisis, I knew that I was at the end of something and the beginning of something else. But I didn't quite know where it was going. And at a certain point, you know, I had 45 minutes of the episode done, and I started tossing it around in my head, thinking, how true is this really? Is the old internet really dead? Has it left me behind? Am I really done putting videos on YouTube? I needed a sign, from David Bowie, of course, that I was on the right path. And then, yesterday, March 21st, my internet actually did die. To be more specific, my wireless router did. But I'm telling you, the joke I made about this happening at the beginning of the episode, I recorded that in January. And this was no ordinary wireless router. I mean, it was, but the router was originally purchased by my friend Jory for our first apartment in East Boston, where the pilot of Angry Film Zone was shot. And it moved with him to Roxbury, where we would shoot AFO. I actually didn't have the internet in my apartment back then in 2009. I would edit episodes of Rockin' Sockin' Robot in my apartment, and I would deliver them to Jory once a week on a flash drive on Tremont Street as we crossed paths on our way to work. And I guess I would pick up the flash drive later that week when I went over to write and shoot Angry Film Zone. I've forgotten about that. Anyway, the same router moved to Portsmouth and got passed back and forth from my apartment to Jory's upstairs. We would take turns subscribing to Comcast so we could keep getting the introductory rate. Pro tip. Finally, it moved with me to Rollinsford, where friends would visit for the first time and be like freaked out when their phones automatically connected to the Wi-Fi. This wireless router that was responsible for literally everything I have ever uploaded to YouTube died a peaceful death on a sunny afternoon in my dining room. My new router retains the old password for nostalgia's sake, and also so all my friends won't have to learn a new one. So let me tell you about the song that has my single favorite ending. The song's called Modern World by Wolf Parade, and it starts like this. It's a straightforward, propulsive rock song, and it's pretty good. But what would be a fun but slight track becomes transcendent about halfway through when the beat turns inside out and this interlocking instrumental starts. This is so good that it would be enough, but then more layers and vocals are added, and I'm telling you, by the 2-minute mark, I am frequently moved to tears by how good this song is. Just by how good it is. I'm losing my voice. I'm pretty sure it's because I'm getting a little sick, but I like to believe it's because I've tried to record the end of this podcast so many times, and I'm just not sure what to say. But Christy and we were talking last night about these dark chocolate-covered honeygrams that I bought from Trader Joe's. She thinks that the honeygrams distract from the star of the show, dark chocolate. And I feel like the gram really emphasizes the chocolate. And we realized that I pretty much taste everything exclusively in contrast. I always need one flavor to bounce the other flavor off of to actually know what it tastes like. And this is reflected in all of my favorite foods and all of my eating habits. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because self-knowledge is really hard to come by. I'm 31 years old, and I just figured out how I taste things. Also, I guess I'm telling you this because in this episode, the creative crisis was the dark chocolate and the music was the graham cracker, but I don't need to spell out all of my themes and motifs for you, much as I would like to. Anyway, okay. Springer's final thoughts time. I'm in the process of changing a lot. I think the examples that I really gave in this episode were Twitter and YouTube because they were the ones that most primarily felt like sticking your finger in a hole in the dam while behind you there's a town that's already mostly flooded anyway. Kind of easy stuff to leave behind. But it occurs to me that feeling, the dam, finger in the hole, flooded town feeling, it might be something that
you yourself are feeling about the way you use the internet or the way you create things or both. And I guess I want to slightly reverse my old positions and tell you it's okay to let go. It'll probably be good for you, creatively and emotionally, in the long run. You've certainly heard me say before that I feel like if I stop doing anything, like if I stop making videos on YouTube, that time is just going to get replaced by mowing the lawn. I think I also always felt like websites like Twitter, they were an essential part of my process. Like I had to be there to gather inspiration and then to share things and then talk to people about the things that I shared and then gather more inspiration. Perfect little ecosystem. I don't really know how true either of those things are, but even if they are true, at a certain point I realized that this place that I was trying to stay in for so long was changing around me anyway. Once you let go of one idea, it's easy to let go of another, and then you start letting go of more abstract ideas. And I'm still in that phase. I'm still Marie Kondoing mentally, letting things go and seeing how it feels to let them go. But I'm also starting to pick up a lot of new stuff. And one thing that means that this show is going to be changing some. I have this idea in my head now of what I want it to be, and it's sort of like what it was always meant to be. I just didn't know it at the time, and I'm pretty excited about it. Today's episode marks the ending of some things, and next episode is the beginning. Thank you to John Pernisek. Thank you to you for listening. We're going to go someplace else now. See you there.